Hello, welcome to today's show. Today we're talking about, is that all there is? And we're specifically talking about the difference between effortful and effortless, with the question, is that all there is? Let me tell you why I'm coming to this question and what's led me here. I don't know about you, but I am having quite a few of my friends and colleagues, as well as clients, leaders that I'm coaching, start to ask, now that we're in month 8-ish or so of the coronavirus lockdown, start to ask, what's the big thing? What's the big thing I'm working on? What's the big thing I should be working on? Where's the meaning? And these may sound like pretty amorphous questions unless they're your own questions. So I know they sound a little bit vague. What do you mean? What's the meaning? But with your own questions, you may have similar questions of what's the most important thing I could be doing. Now that I a little bit know what the situation is, that I'm doing mostly Zoom calls, that I'm not physically walking into an office, now that I know this is happening, what else should I be doing? You're probably asking yourself similar questions. So I encourage you, I used to do this at the beginning of our programs and then I kind of let it go. I encourage you to just sort of shake all that out, shake all that uncertainty and strangeness and is that all there is and what am I working on? Just kind of shake out one arm and shake out the other arm. We used to do this more and then we sort of stopped it. Maybe even raise your arms over your head. Maybe move your arms to the side, move them down, and just kind of shake out your arms. All right, so today we're going to talk specifically about, is that all there is? And I mentioned this because there's a lovely song that some people in my family really, really love. I'm going to share this song. You probably know this song. I'm literally going to share only about 15 seconds. But I share this because I am hearing this vibe and this message from the leaders I work with. And like I said, from colleagues and friends. So here's the song that you likely know pretty well. Here it is. How should I share it with you? Yeah, let me share it like this. It's a nice one. All right, I'm going to make my volume as high as possible, so I hope you hear this well. Here we go.
Is that all there is? Is that all there is? If that's all there is, my friends, then let's keep dancing.
That's actually all I wanted to show you. You probably have heard the words or you've heard the song. So given that, here are two ways of looking at what's going on. I'll give you a very specific example with myself. I'll give you a work example and a non-work example and see where your examples fit in. On the work example, you all probably know that I'm Senya Myman. I run Silicon Valley Change Executive Coaching. We have amazing, incredible coaches. We're going up towards 100 coaches, and they're super diverse coaches. They're internationally located. We coach in many languages, and we coach at the VP and at the C-suite level primarily. We have been trying a new direction, and I'll share more about this new direction over time, but we've been trying a new direction in addition to the staple of what we do, coach at that VP above and C-suite level. We are trying something that's a little new, but similar to that. So again, I'll share more about this over time. But in trying that, I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if it's the right fit. I don't know what would make it the right fit. I don't know which of our coaching group makes it the best kind of fit. So I have a lot of these questions, a little bit like, is that all there is? Are we hitting what we need to hit here? And you're probably familiar, so I'll just take a breath. That's true. That's really true. I'm not sure about this other area that we're starting. It's a different area of our business. And so I'm a little bit tiptoeing with it and experimenting and exploring, which is all the same advice I and my other guests give to you all the time. Experiment, explore. You probably have also been in this situation where you're thinking about what you're doing from the top down and from the bottom up. So let me give you an example of how I'm thinking about expanding into this other area. One is top down, which is what is important at the big picture level, what's important for our business. So that's the top down. But then bottom up, we're getting traction. Even before, the reason we're starting to move in this other area is because we have been getting inbound requests for a very specific kind of coaching that's not business to business, which is really unusual for us, a very specific kind. And so that's bottom up. We're hearing things. So my overall observation that I'm coming to as I was preparing to speak with you today is that when we're asking, is that all there is? Maybe something that can help us is to think both of what we're finding traction on, so that bottom up, and also what's important for us from the big picture, from top down. And when I think about this, I think about these two delightful analogies, one by Elizabeth Gilbert about writing, and one by Tal Ben-Shahar about happiness. Elizabeth Gilbert, I believe this is in her TED Talk. She says, look, what if you treated creativity and that spark and that lean towards writing? What if you treat it like a tryst with your romantic partner? What if you just can't wait to get to your writing? What if you try to fit it in between things? What if you just give yourself snippets of it? She makes it poetic, and under stairwells and around corners. So that's one way of trying out something that you're trying. And another way, and this is, I'll share a screen with you again. This is one of the first books that I read in the field of positive psychology. And this is Tal Ben-Shahar's happiness model. The book is called Happier by Tal Ben-Shahar. I love this book. It's so, one of my favorite things when people in positive psychology do is when they come to all of us, including me, who studied positive psych, and say, here are the basic ways of hearing and thinking about this concept. And one of the things that Tal Ben-Shahar does, and we should have him on this show, I'll definitely make sure to do that, to ask him, to invite him. He says, you can think about happiness in two different models. Now, this is going to sound kind of crude, maybe, and a little crass, but it's also enlivening. He says you could think of happiness as the drowning model or the kiss after kiss model. So this is what he says. One version of happiness is, imagine if you actually ask someone to hold you underwater in a swimming pool for X seconds, and you're held underwater and you're held underwater, and then you ask them to release you just at that X seconds, and that first breath of air, and it's wonderful and it's great. And so that's the drowning model of happiness, that things are really, really bad, and every once in a while, things feel amazing. And then Tal Ben-Shahar, in his book, his second model of happiness is a little bit of the kiss by kiss model of happiness, which is you meet someone and that feels nice talking to them. And then a few weeks later, you might kiss and that feels nice. And then you start to meet their friends and that feels nice. So that it's a little bit of a progression of things that feel right. And I would say when I'm thinking about that, that's that step by step. So if you're bottom up, if I'm looking at, hey, I want us to explore this business model, how could I do it step by step so that we're starting from that we've gotten traction even before we even considered this business model? And then how do we address that? And how do we do little drops and little experiments? So that's his, in a sense, Tal Ben-Shahar's kiss by kiss model. So I think about this, and I think about something like how Amazon, you might have heard the story that Amazon has a building on campus called Day One, and that one of Jeff Bezos's approach to management is that we're always at day one. We were at day one. Yes, last year we were at day one now, where we will be at day one in a year. And this day one mentality, it's a little bit like my beginner's mind with my cello series that you've seen. This day one is, hey, there's still a lot of amazing possibility and probability out there. Let's move towards it. Let's move towards that day one. So let me pause a little. I started with that I'm seeing leaders look for meaning, more meaning with what they're doing. And then I played you a lovely tiny segment of a song. And I said, hey, if there is, for example, if we follow Tal Ben-Shahar and we say, hey, there's the drowning model or the kiss by kiss model, and there's the Elizabeth Gilbert, hey, let's sneak off and do some writing, me and my computer. If there's a way to go step by step that leads you towards something where you can try effortless little taps at the thing you want to achieve, then maybe that's one way to go towards something. But I want to also kind of pay homage to something that I strongly believe in that you've heard me talk about here, which is integrative thinking and polarity thinking, which is being able to hold two ideas at the same time. I'm not saying that every project you and I go after should be something that's effortless, that's really simple. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that we should keep that in mind and also keep in mind some effortful projects. So we're going to be holding both of those truths. I say all this because there are a lot of questions about meaning. out there right now? What are your questions about meaning? What are you thinking about? What's playing around in your head? What are you struggling with? I'm struggling with this new business direction that we're thinking about, that we've started experimenting with. I'm figuring it out. I feel like I'm struggling. You may even, if you were a somatic coach, meaning observing body expressions, you may even say, "Hey, Senya, you're saying I'm struggling with it. You're tensing up your shoulders. What's that about?" And I'll tell you what that's about, because I'll do a little self-coaching here on this session. I am struggling with it. I'm trying it. I'm not sure what will work, what won't work. That's why I started off the call by saying, hey, let's shake out the things that we're uncertain about, both you and I together on this call. So again, I'm asking you, where are you finding meaning? Where are you finding those little stepping stones? And I want to give credit for the stepping stone analogy to someone that we will have on this program, Rebecca Aurora, who is an executive coach and whom I met through a friend. And she has this analogy of just keep following. Imagine these white stones that shine in the moonlight and that are good, the good kind, not the bad kind in a children's story, in a children's fable. And follow the ones that keep piquing your interest, keep almost, again, I'm somatic coaching here in front of you, but keep kind of expanding your breath, keep giving you a vision of possibilities. So I'm just gonna look if there's anything else that fits to cover in this effortful versus effortless. And in the meantime, tell me, what are you taking away from this time that we've had together here this morning? I know one thing that I wanted to share, one other screenshot that I had pulled up before, in the context of Amazon's day one and starting things in this beginner mind. You've seen, in addition to having this experiment that I'm trying business-wise, you've seen me on this program try the cello series experiment. And I show you that, and I'm not even sure how correctly I'm holding my arm. I'm in week 3/4. I think I'm starting week 4 of cello. And I also think this is fun. This is definitely those stepping stones. It's fun, but sometimes my hand gets kind of achy, and that's normal. That happened when I was learning guitar 20 years ago. So that achiness is also part of the effortful. We're holding the effortless and the effortful both in mind. I had a conversation with somebody who I think may be a colleague down the road, sort of a new introduction yesterday, and he was saying that he finds it funny that so many of us are trying to do efforting. I kind of thought that was fun as a verb, efforting, that we're trying to effort, we're efforting on things. And I see both points of view, that some things should really feel effortless and like we want the next thing. And then some things should also feel effortful and like we're going for something that's important. So in the context of that, and in the context of day one, here's another image that I wanted to share with you. And you probably know this. These are some Grandma Moses images. She was a painter, but she started painting, as you probably know, she started painting at age, I think it's 78, started seriously painting at age 78. And this is incredible. So is all this to say that you will see me be a cello player down the road? I don't know. But it's something I'm playing with. It's something I think is fun. And it's something that feels like stepping stones for me in the Rebecca Aurora term. I think those are the big things. I'll add one more, because I think this whole story is about, I'm giving my own examples because they're current to me. I can use them. I don't have there's nothing proprietary in terms of the people that I'm coaching. So one is I've given you that business example. Another is I've given you the cello example. You've seen me, very, very beginner's mind, and sort of play around with it. And the last example that I'll close with is I love speaking to you all here. I love when you comment. I love prepping the day before or the morning of for these, thinking, all right, is that all there is? Let's talk about effortful and effortless, because I'm hearing this meaning question. I love this. And for me, this is very much that I'm enjoying every piece of it. And so for my example, just for context, I want to give you two funny things. I'm excited when you and I have this sort of funny one-way conversation where you put comments in and I respond to your comments. But I'm excited about it in the sense that a gazillion years ago, when I was in high school, our high school had a radio station, and the radio station was 25 watts. That is literally lighter than any light bulb you probably have in the house. That was the how strong the radio station was, the signal. So it went a couple of towns over and people listened, and I did some talk radio on that program. And when I was doing that, I thought talk radio was the coolest thing. And my talk radio is I would interview people. So I wasn't one of those political commentators. I would more interview people that I thought were interesting, which is funny because that's what I'm doing now on this program, especially when it's the Believe show and I bring in guests. So all this to say that when I was really interested in this, and imagine me, I'm 16 years old, I'm in high school, so I've come home from school, I've done my homework, I've had dinner with my family, and then I go to bed. But you know, teenagers stay up. So let's say I finished my homework by 11 something, but then I knew, and this is old, I knew that on the radio at midnight, Larry King would come on, and he had this long show. So I turned the radio on next to my bed, and I'd fall asleep at midnight listening to Larry King. Why Larry King? Because I found him to be a super fun interviewer. And this is me at 16. He asked questions where his interests were. He really got interesting things from his guests. So that's what I'm saying. Even back at 16, I found these fun directions, little steps that were really exciting. And similarly now, coming to chat with you and thinking, all right, this is the context. This is how we can make this idea really clear, because that's what I care about, clear ideas, as opposed to esoteric. Thank you for joining me. This has been about, is that all there is? And whether we can look at our situations, whether it's my work situation, the work project that I'm starting to dabble in along with the rest of my team, whether it's me playing around on cello, whether it's me enjoying speaking to you in this way, because I love it and I love prepping for it. And I love prepping the guests for our programs together. So whatever it is, whether we can do it on this effortless side or on the effortful and the planning, like planning for the business, planning for the cello, actually taking lessons, making my fingers hurt sometimes, not on purpose, but as part of the game, and the effortful part of these programs, which is also effortless. So with all of that, thanks for being with us today on this unusually titled, Is That All There Is?, which was a discussion of effortful versus effortless. All the best. See you next time.